No one is coming in.
I say it's probably because the Slate event hasn't launched yet.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, Slate will.
So they would get a message kind of saying it's starting, and then.
Well, they'll go if they click on their reminder link, which they should
Right.
an hour ago.
Right.
Slate landing page is currently counting down till 4 p.m.
Okay. Well, here comes Zach. Good. Hi, Zach.
Hi, Zach.
You're on mute.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good. We are just went live, so we're waiting for our participants to join. And they should be coming in here shortly. And then I will give Jen the go-ahead to start us off. And then Zach, I will share the screen when we're ready, and I've got everything ready to go for you.
Great. Thanks,
Cool.
Jim.
You bet. Thank you. Oh, we've got a couple of attendees coming in. Good. Mm-hmm. I'll just start making my normal announcements that I do for this. Students, as you were joining us, we appreciate your coming on today for the sophomore junior open house session 1. And we'll just kind of let a few minutes go here to get everybody situated and on the call and start shortly. I'll maybe do 30 more seconds here. We may have people joining as we begin, but I think, Jen, let's go ahead and start. We're at 4:02, so I'll turn over to you.
Great. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Jen Mahachek, and I'm the Vice President for Enrollment here at Ripon. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you this afternoon to our virtual open house. We are pleased you're able to join us, and we hope that everybody here is doing well. Today's program is one of a 10-part series that we're offering from now through the next couple weeks. Today, we will review our unique curriculum that we refer to as Catalyst with President Massetti. And afterwards, our Dean of Admissions, Lee Malejic, will review our admissions process and timeline, and he will give you some insight into the Ripon College campus. You are welcome today to join any of our future sessions that we will be hosting. And if you would like, you're welcome to stay with us after the admissions overview today and join us in hearing from some of our current students who would love to chat with you. They will share some of their experiences at Ripon, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. That particular opportunity is going to be provided as part 2 of our series, and that will begin at 4:45, and we'll give you a little bit more direction on that after Leah's finished the admissions overview. For this and future sessions, we want to remind you that participants will be muted. So please use the Q&A button that you find at the bottom of your screen to ask questions or make comments at any time. And now it is my pleasure to introduce you to Ripon College's president, Zach Massetti. Welcome, Zach.
Hey, thanks, Jen, and welcome sophomores and juniors on the call. Great to have you here. I'm the president of Ripon College, and I'm also a professor of politics and government at Ripon, and often teach in the classroom, usually about things that relate to politics but have also taught classes that relate to Italian language and Italian history and politics, as well as film and education, lots of different things. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our curriculum today, the Catalyst curriculum, and there'll be a presentation here that'll go along with this. So if you have questions during my presentation, put them down in the Q&A section, and I'll try and get to them at the end. I'm not going to talk for too long because I really do want to get to what your questions are. But let's talk about Ripon's Catalyst curriculum. So those of you who are in high school, you know that you have required courses in high school. So at Ripon, we have required courses. But one of the things that's very different about what we did is 4 years ago, we decided to completely sort of rethink our curriculum. And at a lot of places that you'll probably look at when you start thinking about where you want to go to college, you have a certain number of requirements. And oftentimes there are a lot of them. And so you have to take, say, 2 science classes, 2 history classes, 2 English classes, 2 music classes, this kind of thing. And we used to do something similar to that at Ripon, but we changed this in 2016 in part to have our courses be a little more directed, meaning that they would be more sort of based on things that mended or put together the liberal arts, which is what we teach, sort of different topics, but also gave it a practical kind of bent and made the topics interesting and for you all to take. So you take 5 courses, which isn't very many, and you take 1 course per semester. So 1 course each semester for your freshman year, your sophomore year, and then 1 in your junior year. So 5 courses. And the topics are really interesting. And we'll talk about some of the cool classes that are offered through the Catalyst curriculum. One of the things, Ripon's gotten all sorts of awards for this and special recognition and grant. So it's a really unique curriculum that prepares you for a career, but also allows you to work with professors and your classmates on really interesting topics. So let's get to it and look at some of those topics. So this is how the 5 courses that we look at that we take. You take in your freshman fall, you take Catalyst 110, and it's a writing intensive class. And again, we'll talk about some of the courses that are offered in that writing session. But again, you work on things that where you collaborate, you work on critical thinking, but it's about honing your writing skills. The second semester, you work on things that have to do with numbers, quantitative reasoning. And again, here, these are classes that aren't just taught necessarily by a math professor, they're taught by people across the curriculum. So you might have someone in music teaching this class. Then in your sophomore year, you take a course in intercultural competence. And here you dive into really interesting topics. And one of my favorite courses, and we'll talk a little more about it here, is a course taught by a sociologist named Jackie Clark at Ripon, who teaches a class called Pickers and Artists, where she looks at culture and she looks at how antiques and art are portrayed through history. And it's really interesting. And she has a new book that's coming out. And this is a class that our students really love. Then in the sophomore spring, you take a class that deals with integration. And here, again, oftentimes you'll have people from different disciplines teaching interesting topics. So one of the courses that we often profile in this section is a course, interestingly enough, that's taught about infectious diseases, that's taught by a biologist and a historian. And then in your sort of capstone class, your Catalyst 300 in your junior year, you tackle a big topic. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later when you work with a group of students and with faculty. So one of the things that's great, I talked about sort of career development and skills, but that you get to have a lot of freedom of choice. So one of the things that's great, and you see this when Ripon students end up graduating, is they end up having multiple majors. So you could be a history major and a double major in history and something like Spanish, but then you have minors in math and art. So the fact that you only have 5 required courses allows you maximum flexibility to take courses in things that interest you. And this, again, is one of the reasons why Ripon's curriculum, I think, is so unique. It also gives time for you to do internships or do research with faculty members. So internships, and we have a Center for Politics and the People that actually funds internships for students in the summer. So we have students this summer who are working on campaigns here in Wisconsin, both at the local, state, and national level. And Ripon funds students who can work and get credit sometimes even for working on summer projects that are academically related. Again, the Catalyst curriculum allows you the flexibility to do that. So here are some of the courses that we were talking about before that you would get in those Catalyst courses. And you can see they're really cool topics. One of the ones that's not listed on there in the Catalyst 110, and this is the writing seminar that is, again, one of my favorites. We have a communications professor named Jody Roy who looks at how personal stories illuminate public lives. So she asks questions like, what roles do personal stories play in shaping public images and professional reputations and how we advocate for causes? And again, you can look at these cool classes in there, Beyonce, Black Feminism and Pop Culture, and you can take classes in global economy, you can take classes in English-related things like fairy tales and contemporary retellings, but you're working on your writing in that first class. In the second class that deals with numbers, again, I sort of mentioned that sometimes these classes aren't just taught by mathematicians, but sometimes they are taught by mathematicians. One of our professors of math, Mackenzie Lamb, teaches a really cool class in Catalyst 120 that deals with, it's called Precise Proposition and Dicey Decisions. And what Mackenzie does, Professor Lamb, is he looks at how math helps you to understand real world problems and the solutions to them. So he looks at things like, how do you read medical test results, election forecasting, saving for retirement, jury trials. So he uses math to show you how to do these things. In Catalyst 220, I talked about this great infectious disease class taught by a historian and a biologist. So you look at things like what happened in the pandemic of 1918, you look at the Black Plague, you look at smallpox, but you look at it not just through history, but also through biology. And these are the kinds of courses that you take in these 4 courses that lead up to the sort of capstone Catalyst event and Catalyst Day, which is a big deal here at Ripon that we have every spring, which we'll talk about now. Oops, I thought there was a Catalyst Day. There's a 300 level, I must be mistaken. So the Catalyst, the 300 level class, there's a final Catalyst class that you take, and that is a Catalyst 300 level class. And here, it's really cool. We have a day, and it's usually in April, where students who have worked in this final class their junior year, they work in small teams, usually of 5, 6, 7, 8, with a professor, sometimes 2. They try to solve big open-ended questions. So this year, for instance, and you can go online, you can actually watch the presentations because we invite in alumni, community members, people from businesses to critique these presentations. So some of the topics that they looked at, for instance, this year, they looked at how do you ensure the future of the food supply in the world? How do you deal with an aging and older population? Is there a way to promote a more just criminal justice system in the United States and in the world? How do we conserve and preserve our water? And then another group looked at housing and homelessness. And so these are, we don't have any classes on the day, the whole college comes and hears these students present their sort of research projects. They make use of all the skills they got in the 4 courses they took before. And it's, many students think this is really the sort of, you know, the capstone of their academic experience at Ripon. And the first class that's gone through Catalyst just graduated this year because they started in 2016. So this is the first class that graduated. And in general, they really liked it. It's, again, a very unique curriculum that allows you flexibility, but also allows you to have these skills, to really hone these skills, writing, working with numbers, collaboration, being analytical, problem solving. These are all the kinds of skills that you need, not just in college, but that you'll need in whatever job you end up getting after college, or if you go on to graduate school. So I'm going to stop there and see if there are any questions that you all have about the Catalyst curriculum or anything else that I could answer about Ripon before we move on. All right, no questions, it doesn't look like. So those of you who are sophomores and who are juniors, I know you're just starting your college search. I have a son who is finishing his sophomore year of high school, and so you're probably now just getting all sorts of mail from different colleges and trying to figure out what it all means. It's the beginning of a process, and we hope you'll ask us lots of questions and stay with us for the course of the next couple of years as you start to think through what college is going to be like. But best of luck to everybody. Have a great summer, and hopefully we'll all be back in school next fall.
Oh, Zach, we do have a question.
There you go.
Yeah, how did students do academically in the Catalyst program? So how are our students, handling the program? What are they getting out of it?
Yeah, I think most of the students did really well in the program academically. I mean, college, we have some professors who are really tough graders, other ones who are easy graders, probably not unlike some of the high school teachers that you all have had. But our students did really well and enjoyed the new curriculum. One of the advantages that you all will have by the time you would come to Ripon is that the program will have then been already up and running for, in some cases, maybe as long as 6 years by the time you would be a first-year student. And so the first year we were experimenting and learning from what worked and what didn't work. And so my sense is that as we've gotten through the program, it gets even better. And students have said, that we poll our students every year. We survey them and ask them whether or not they like the courses they're taking and what we can do to improve them. And so every year we learn from these surveys and we get them and make these classes better. And so my sense is that the Catalyst curriculum sort of gets better and better. And one of the cool things about it is, again, I was sort of saying that it's very innovative. It's very different. I get calls and our dean of faculty, the person who's in charge of our curriculum, gets calls all the time from different colleges around the country to say, how did you do this? Why did you decide to do it? What is the best way to make sure that it works well? Because a lot of colleges have followed on to what Ripon is doing and trying to sort of do similar types of things. But we were one of the first to move into this area, and our faculty are very, very proud of it. Our professors are very proud of it.
So another question we have is, do you have a theater program at Ripon?
Wow, yes, we have a great theater program at Ripon, and we have a beautiful brand new theater that we actually just redid last year with cool new seats and brand new curtains and wall hangings, and it's beautiful with an organ in the back of the sort of big theater. Plus we have a theater for where productions go on. We have a musical part of the theater and then a production theater. We do a musical that is really well attended. Plus we do several big plays throughout the year. And of course, one of Ripon's most famous, actually two of Ripon's most famous alumni were theater students when they were here. The first, of course, many of you know, Harrison Ford, who was Han Solo in the early Star Wars movies and is a famous movie actor. And so was Spencer Tracy, who is a movie actor from many, many years ago, who also studied theater at Ripon. So we've had many students who study theater and then go on and do theater. A couple in the last several years are in places like Chicago and Minneapolis doing theater after they've finished Ripon. So it's a very vibrant program, and we have a couple of great professors in there. And so yes, we have a theater program, and the community loves to come out and participate and go to the events.
And one other question we have before I know we had to switch over here to Lee to talk about admission things. Could you just tell us a little bit about our pre-med program or psychology on campus?
Right, so psychology is always one of Ripon's most popular majors. It's always in the top 5, and we have a great faculty in psychology. And the students, one of the things that's cool about it is the students get to do hands-on research really early and hands-on projects really early. And I'll just give you an example. This year, there was a group that worked with one of our professors, Julia Manor, who was doing a project on dog cognition. And so my dog, Elena, participated in the dog cognition field and lab testing, where the students brought her in and tried to get her to do a bunch of things and then tested and charted what she was doing. But students get to do this kind of work very, very early at Ripon in the psychology department, and again, publish papers with professors and so forth. Our pre-med program is really challenging. I won't lie. We have a lot of students who start in pre-med, and the courses early on are really tough. And I think that's a good thing, because as I've often told our students who are in the pre-med program who are struggling is, well, I want my doctor to be the best. And so we want to push, we push our students really hard in those early classes that they have to take in things like organic chemistry. The programs are popular in large part because the faculty themselves are excellent. They work so closely with students that oftentimes our rates of students who get accepted into programs to medical school, to pharmacy school, to dental schools is very, very high because the students and the faculty have very close relationships, so that the recommendations are excellent. MCAT scores, the tests that are like the SAT for entry into medical school, are often very high because, again, our professors work so closely with students. The program is good. It's tough. And again, I don't think we'd have it any other way.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Zach. We're going to transition over to Lee now.
Great.
For two other students who asked their questions, we will come back to your questions after Lee's discussion about how the academic and admission process work here at Ripon.
Great, thank you, John. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for spending some time with us this afternoon. As John mentioned, my name is Lee Malejic. I'm our Dean of Admission. I'm also a Ripon alum. I graduated in 2002, and I've been working in the admission office ever since. So I'm finishing up my 18th year. Just want to take a short amount of time here to walk you through what the admission and financial aid process looks like at Ripon. One of the things I'll let you know from the outset is that we're definitely not going to let you miss anything. So when it comes to timelines, deadlines, things like that, we will be certainly communicating with you, but this can just kind of give you a higher level view of what we're looking at. So for our application process, we really put as few of hurdles as possible in the application process. When we ask students to apply, so for our juniors, our current juniors that are on the line, we'll ask you to apply over the course of the summer here. We're going to be looking for two things specifically: a completed application and high school transcripts that are through your junior year. So after grades become available through your junior year, we'd ask you to send those in. For the application, we have a Ripon application that's on our website, and then we are also a member of the Common App as well. Additional materials that we'll ask for are a personal statement, if you'd like to supply them, test scores, same thing with test scores. We are a test optional school, so it's completely up to you if you'd like to submit your test scores or not, and I'll give you a little bit of advice as we move forward here with that, and then letters of recommendation. Everything that's submitted with an application, we will certainly review, and we encourage students to include anything that you think will strengthen your overall application to Ripon. Both the application itself is both an application for admission as well as scholarship. So once you apply, you're applying for everything. Looking forward, we are going to start reviewing applications at the end of the summer here, and we'll begin to send out admission and scholarship decisions in September. So September 15th is when we typically target for going out with admission and scholarship decisions for our first round. Following that, we're on a rolling admission basis. So we'll let you know within 2 weeks of a completed application. Once we have all of your materials in, like I said, the scholarship and the admission notice will come in within that 2-week time period overall. What we're looking for in an application, we have an average student coming in to Ripon has around a 3.4 GPA and a 24 ACT overall. I did mention being test optional. When I'm talking with students and you're looking and considering being test optional, what I really look at is those averages, and then looking at your grades and your test score. My advice typically to students is that if your GPA is at or above that average GPA and your ACT score is below the average ACT score, that's a good time to go test optional with the application. There's literally only one question on the application that is, consider my test scores, do not consider my test scores. And that will flag if we're looking for you to send those in or not. If you have questions, I would definitely encourage you to reach out to us. We have counselors that will work with students from, with everyone assigned to different territorial high schools. So we're happy to help provide a little bit more guidance when we have specific, when you can share your specific background with us. You know, that's much easier rather than just looking at the average. If you can share with us, okay, my GPA is this, my ACT score is this, what would I be better off doing? We're happy to help you and guide you through that process as well. In addition to just the average GPA and test scores that we look for, we really look for students that are going to be successful on campus through the application process. So we'll look at cumulative GPA, but we're also going to take a look at your core college prep GPA. So we look at college prep classes in 5 areas: English, math, social studies, science, and foreign language. We'll calculate a core GPA based on that, and overall in those 5 areas, we're looking for you to have about 17 core college prep classes. The one other little caveat that I like to put out there, and that we do certainly take a look at for both sophomores and juniors, and as you're finishing this year particularly, is we do look at kind of trends overall. You know, how did students finish their junior year? One of the big red flags for our admission committee is if a student has a really solid academic background throughout high school, and then all of a sudden their junior year, the grades go way down. Now, sometimes there's an explanation for that, but other times there's not, and that's something that really can lead to overall success. What we look at for overall success in college is how you're progressing into that senior year and what level of success you're having with some of your upper level core college prep classes. In terms of affordability, like I mentioned, the first step of that process is really with the admission and scholarship application. You're going to know about your scholarship at the time of admission. 100% of students that attend Ripon receive financial aid, and it comes in the form of grants, loans, and student work. So work study is available to all of our students on campus. And the process overall, we'll go to the next slide. We really look at the FAFSA. The FAFSA is the only form that we require you to fill out for financial aid. So if you're new to the process, the FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. It's a federal form. It's a .gov site, so that's one of the things that you want to be looking for. It becomes available October 1st. So in terms of the timeline overall, we encourage students to apply during the summer prior to their senior year, and our application is open right now, so it is available. You can go out and apply this afternoon if you'd like. It doesn't take very long to apply at all. The application's free, and there's no personal statement. Those are 2 things that were not in the requirements that we were looking at, so it really doesn't take that much time. We have students become accepted in early September, as I had mentioned, and then October 1st is when we really look to move into that financial aid process. That is when the FAFSA becomes available. The FAFSA is going to ask for your family's prior year information. So if you plan on attending Ripon in the fall of 2021, the FAFSA will ask for your family's 2019 tax information, essentially. And there's an IRS data retrieval tool that's available on the FAFSA that makes it a little bit easier to fill out, so that can be helpful for families just to pull that information right in. So we encourage students and families to take a look at the FAFSA form sometime in October, and then we typically will have our first financial aid offers out the first week in November overall. So we definitely believe in getting that information out to our families as quickly as possible. We know it's crucial to your decision-making process, that the financial piece is something that everyone's concerned with when it comes to college, and that's something that we want to be able to guide you through and help you understand what's exactly in that financial aid offer as well. So we will send out, like I said, early November, we'll have our first packages out, and then we do those on a rolling basis as well. So as more FAFSAs come in, as families are able to file that form, we continue to send out packages then throughout the course of the year. Our priority deadline for the FAFSA is December 1st. So we want to make sure that you're able to get all the money that you qualify for while filing the FAFSA. And for some of the federal and state funds that are available, there's certain pots of money that are out there, and we don't want those pots of money to run out before you file and are eligible to miss out on that money based on filing late. So it's important to keep that timeline in mind. We do have May 1st kind of as our national decision day currently. So as you're going throughout your senior year, you can get a lot of information early in your senior year about admissions, scholarships, and financial aid. And really, it's the timing of when you make that decision at that point is really up to you. We want you to make an informed decision overall. You have opportunities to visit campus, but we're going to ask you to make that decision at least by May 1st, both for you to be able to make plans and for us to be able to make plans as well. So that's when we look at a National Decision Day. We do host a summer orientation program here in June that would take place just a little over a year from now on campus, and then our move-in is in August typically. As you're going through this process, that's really the paperwork part of the process, right? Is being able to fill out the application, being able to file the FAFSA. That really enlists all the paperwork that needs to be done in order to complete what we need to have you admitted. The other really, probably the biggest piece of the process is really getting to know the schools, that you're looking at. And one of the best ways to do that is to visit campus. Unfortunately, right now, that's not an opportunity that we can have on campus specifically. That's why I'm so happy that you decided to join us today in these virtual settings. It's really I would call it a great introduction to campus, that you've been able to join us today, meet some people on campus, gather a bunch of information, and kind of get a feel for what a campus is like. I've run into some students that'll say, oh, all state schools are the same, all private schools are the same. That's definitely not the case, because when you visit campuses, you'll be able to see that each campus really has its own personality. As you're walking onto a campus, as you're meeting the people, as you're seeing the buildings, you're having an experience where you're going to be able to see what it's going to be like to be a student on that campus. That is what we're trying to simulate a little bit with our virtual visits that we can currently do. So for our virtual visits, you'll have an opportunity, if you'd like to sign up for one of those, to really have a one-on-one conversation. If you're looking at Ripon, you know that we're small, we're relationship based. So that all starts in the admission process. So with our virtual visits, you have an opportunity to sit down and chat with a counselor for a few minutes, and then actually go out on a virtual tour of campus with one of our current students. So we have a number of ambassadors that are hired. They're going to be with us throughout the course of the summer, that are going to be available to give the virtual tours of campus. Again, that kind of goes back to that personality piece of campus and just having an opportunity to meet some of the people that are part of our great campus community overall. We do hope that later this summer that we'll be able to launch our on-campus visits again. Again, we do these very much on an individual basis based on your interests. And in particular, as we get into the academic year, we really look to making a visit catered to your specific interests. So we'll continually send out information on opportunities to visit campus, the different types of campus visits that we do. And really, as we know more with COVID-19 and the situation that we're currently in, we'll be sure to keep you updated as much as possible when new opportunities become available overall. We do have some time for questions, and really it can be about the admission and financial aid process or anything about Ripon.
Yeah. So Lee, one of the questions we do have about the admission process is what would strengthen my chance to get in, and what would be eye-catching for the people deciding if I get in?
Great question. One of the best ways to strengthen your chance to get in is really performing well in those core academic courses. Now, that's one of the things that we're really looking at that have been successful for students that have been successful on campus, are those students that have performed well in those classes in high school. And it also gives them a good foundation for making the transition to campus overall. So that's kind of number one on top of our list. And with being test optional, we take, for students that decide to go test optional, we take an even closer look at those types of courses. Another thing that I haven't mentioned yet that's really kind of stands out for our applicants, and something that students tend to have a background in that prepares them very well for Ripon, are students that have been very involved in high school. So for students that have taken part in a number of different activities, one of the things that I like to share is this is not a time to be modest on your admission application. It's a time to really let us know what you have been involved in, because that shows that you've been a great community member. You've probably done things with leadership, community service, and what it really leads to is great time management skills. Because you have been busy in high school, you have great time management skills, and those are the types of skills that are also really helpful in college as you're going off for the first time by yourself.
Okay. Another question that we have is, what do your study abroad programs look like, and how many opportunities do students get during their time at Ripon?
With our study abroad on campus, a lot of what we do is really individualized with our students. So our faculty advisors, so all of our advisors on campus are faculty members. They work individually with students with the different programs they may be interested in collaboration with our registrar's office. So as soon as study abroad comes up, and it's actually a conversation that students can have early with their advisors on campus, we have what we call an educational planning form that we have all of our enrolling students fill out. And that's one of the questions, if that's something that they want to accomplish while they're in college, that it can be an early conversation and you can begin to plan for it early. We have a 4-year graduation guarantee. So the conversations that our students have with faculty early on really can make sure that they pack everything into that 4 years that they really want to. So it's dependent upon the program. It's dependent upon where the student wants to go. I can say a number of our students will go in their junior year, and then we actually also have an in-focus program too. So while some of our students want the semester abroad experience, our in-focus program is a program that's a 3-week experience that actually President Massetti has a lot of experience with, taking students to Italy over a 3-week period, typically in May. So there's a number of different opportunities, and it's something that our students work closely with their faculty advisors on.
Yeah, so we really hope that we'll be able to go back and do study abroad. You know, obviously this year we had to cancel our study abroad programs, but we have a number of programs that our students love to go on. So I take, along with a history professor and sometimes an art history professor, who take students to Rome for 3 weeks in May and June. And we've been doing this now for 7 or 8 years. It's really cool. We live in a villa. We go look at art and history and political things in Italy and in Rome. There's another couple of faculty that go to Costa Rica and look at environmental issues. Other faculty have taken students to do service trips to Jamaica. So we have a bunch of faculty-led programs that students love to participate in. Now, John Ingeman, I think you did some study abroad when you were a Ripon student, if I'm not mistaken.
I did. I did the London Florence program that was available during my time at Ripon, and so I spent 2 months living in London and touring the city, and then I had a week off to travel Europe. So I went to Belgium, France, Switzerland, an impromptu 24-hour train ride to Germany, and then I lived 2 months in Italy with a host family and studied art and culture, and then I sat on the Mediterranean for a week at the end of it all, which was great.
So it's cool. Our students love to study abroad. And the other cool thing, if you're interested in international studies and travel, is we always have international students at Ripon. Now, again, this may be more difficult in the next year or two because of the virus. But one of the things that's interesting about Ripon is that we have sometimes 35, 40 international students from all over the world who really enrich being at Ripon. And you can have a lot of our students have great friends from all over the world, even though we're here in the middle of Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of international, one of the other questions we have is, how does your international relations program work?
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm gonna take this one because I usually teach in international relations and studied international relations. So Ripon's international relations program, we do have a professor in political science whose expertise is international relations, but the study of international relations, you take courses in politics, you take courses in history, you take courses in economics, and you build this whole sort of grouping of courses that prepare you for work that could lead you into something like the United Nations or international affairs, diplomatic service stuff around the world. And we have students who've done internships while they're here in interesting sort of global programs. And so again, there's one core professor who does international relations, but you take classes in a series of disciplines. And we also encourage for international relations disciplines that you study a foreign language, and we teach French and Spanish here, and that you do try and get an international experience as well. We have a lot of students who've gone on to do programs, master's degree programs afterwards in international relations. The professor in particular who studies this has a strong connection with Texas A&M and has placed several students there who are now in Washington working in government and in New York doing those kinds of things as well. So there's a really nice pipeline. In fact, a student who I had ended up going and spending 2 years teaching English in China, and now is finishing his master's degree in international relations and speaks fluent Chinese now, taught himself Chinese in the time that he was over there. Here at Ripon, he studied English. He didn't study international relations, but he's done really, really well. And so again, sort of shows you that we have students who go on and do fabulously well in that area.
Awesome. Jill, do we have time for another question or two?
I think we can take one more. Just so students who are on the session today are visitors, we are going to go into our student panel here in just a minute, but I don't want to cut off questions, so feel free.
Okay, thank you, Jill. Another question was, what would students do if their schools are not allowing college prep classes? How is that going to look on their college application process?
I'm guessing that might be on a class-by-class or a school-by-school basis. Overall, when you look at college prep classes, many of the classes that you're required in your freshman and sophomore years are going to be in those college prep areas. Sometimes when you get to your junior and senior years, maybe a course that you want to take isn't being offered because of overall interest in a college prep area. And what I would encourage students to do then is to find another area where a college prep course may be offered. One of the biggest things I always encourage students to do if they're looking for coursework in their senior year in particular, or if they're looking at different types of college level coursework that may be offered through high school, look at English coursework in particular. That seems to be the biggest academic area for transition when students come off to college, is the amount of reading and writing that takes place in the college area. So if you can add in, some type of English course in your senior year, if you have an opening that's available, that's always a great go-to. Or just a course that you're really going to enjoy in that area. If history is, just coursework that you really enjoy, go with a history course, for example.
Okay.
We have one more, John, maybe?
Yeah, one more.
Okay. Yeah.
So a question that was asked earlier on was, what is your sports management program like?
Yeah, so we have a track of where you can study sports management within our, really it comes within our economics, within our business management program. And one of the great things at Ripon is you can get some practical experience while you're here in sports management. So you can work for our athletics department in the doing social media, doing statistics, doing management of games with with various teams. So we've had people who are team managers. But one of the things that's amazing about Ripon is we have this huge network of alumni who are in sports management around the country in professional sports. So we have alumni who work for the Milwaukee Bucks, who work for the Packers, who work for the Milwaukee Admirals. One of our alumni is actually the president of the Dallas Stars, which is an NHL team in Dallas, who speaks often with our students and spoke last couple years ago when we sent a group of students down to Texas for a career discovery trip and took them around the Stars area. And a lot of these alumni take our students for internships while they're in college so that you get practical experience. Because if you know anything about sports management, and if you're interested in working for a professional sports team, you oftentimes have to start really at the beginning. So, you know, we've had, for instance, one of our alums who graduated here, I think in 2016, who works for the Bucks, is, you know, he's now worked his way up through the ticket sales office and is up near the top of that group there. But that's how you start. You learn the business from the bottom up. And so one of the cool things at Ripon in terms of sports management is this alumni network of people who are working for professional sports teams who can both help you with internships and provide you career advice as you're going through your academic program.
Great. I think, as according to time, I'm going to end this part of the session, part one, and we'll do a little transition here as our panelists may leave and our new panelists are coming in. We'll take just a minute or two break if anybody needs to step away from their computer, but we'll start again here in just a minute with some current students who will share and answer questions. So we'll just give it a minute and we'll start that next session, okay?
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you to our panelists. Thank you so much. And I know our student panelists, if you want to go ahead and unmute and turn your video on. Perfect. All right. So we'll just give it a second here if anybody, we've got some new people joining us potentially, and then of course, I want to give everybody a second to get situated. And Maddie, I'll turn the reins over to you then if you want to start us off here in 30 seconds or a minute or so.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started and just meet one another who is on the call with us right now. So my name is Maddie McCoy. I am an admission counselor with Ripon. If you happen to sign up for a visit, I'll also be the person that you talk to about that, as I work a lot with our guests who come visit campus either virtually right now or on campus. So we certainly hope that you can join us for a virtual campus tour soon. And in fact, after this call a little bit later this evening at 6 o'clock, there will be a virtual tour for you to join too if you want to keep learning from some of our current students. So for the four ladies who are current Red Hawks on our campus, let's have you just go around and share who you are, where you're from, what you're involved in at Ripon, and then maybe also toss in what is your absolute favorite thing about Ripon College. So Anisha, you're in the top right for me, so let's have you start.
All right. Hi, I'm Anisha. I am a current junior now, which is weird to say. I am a biology major, and I'm from Hazel Crest, Illinois. So it's about like 30-ish minutes from Chicago. I guess one of my favorite things about Ripon is the small town feel. I really love that because I came from a small high school of like 300 kids. So even though Ripon is a little bit bigger than that, it's still very small. And I just love the small feel because I'm looking to go to medical school and I just want to build that relationship with my professors. So that's what I really like about it.
Nice. Allie, do you want to jump in next?
Sure. So my name is Allie Sloviak. I am going to be a junior in the fall, and I'm from Kiel, Wisconsin. And I'm involved in some things on campus like the wind ensemble, orchestra, lots of musical things. And one of my favorite things about Ripon is the professional relationships that we get to build with our professors. And they really help you get different things like jobs and internships, and just are really there to guide you and help you out.
Great. All right. Molly?
Hi, my name is Molly Wagner. I'm from Green Bay, Wisconsin. I am going to be a senior in the fall, which is going to be so crazy. I feel like it's gone by so fast. I'm majoring in elementary education, and then I also minor in studio art. And then I also attend the University of Wisconsin Oshkosh to get certified in special education. My favorite thing about Ripon is probably what Allie said, is the relationship you get to build with your professors. I've become really close with my professors. And I don't think you'd get there or get to do that at a bigger school. So I think with our small school, it's nice to have that relationship with your professors.
Great. And Anna?
Hello, my name is Anna Coles. I am going to be a senior in the fall. I am involved in Alpha Delta Pi, which is a sorority on campus. I also play volleyball, and I'm from Oshkosh. I think I said that, maybe I didn't. And the thing that I like the most about Ripon College is that it's such a close-knit campus, and the connections that you make are literally for a lifetime.
Awesome. Thanks, ladies. And for any of you watching this, if you have any specific questions that you want to submit to the chat function, feel free to do that. I'll be watching it, and Jill will also be keeping an eye on that. So don't hesitate to ask these ladies anything that you really want to know about Ripon College. So maybe this response might be a little bit different, and feel free to jump in. Some of your favorite things that you found out about Ripon you might not have realized until you already got here, but what was one of the main reasons why you ultimately picked Ripon when you were in your college search?
I think the reason I picked Ripon was because I think I started touring colleges when I was a senior, my first semester senior year, and Eliza, she was my admission counselor, and every time I came to Ripon, she knew who I was. She knew me by my first and last name. She knew where I was from. And I think that it was just like a really cool thing that these people that you've maybe met for like 5 minutes in your entire life knew who you were, knew what you were interested in, and stuff like that. So I think that's probably the biggest reason why I came to Ripon, is because of those connections that you make with anybody at Ripon.
Awesome. Does anyone else have any thoughts on why they specifically chose Ripon?
Well, I chose Ripon more so because I was looking for medical school. So I wanted a good college or good undergrad acceptance rate into medical school. So I looked at Ripon, and they have, I think it's like 71% acceptance rate going into medical school, which is like awesome. It's like higher than the national average, which is like 40%. And then my second thing was that I knew I wanted to play volleyball, and I was like bouncing between Division II and Division III. And then I wound up just like, you know what, I'm gonna be a doctor, so I'm just focused on schooling. So I decided to do Division III volleyball. And so yeah, I forgot to mention that I'm on the volleyball team, and that was one of my reasons that's why I chose Ripon. And it's such a like a small town feel that like I didn't even know that I needed that until I did my overnight, and I was like, wow, okay, this is really nice. I can get used to this.
Cool. Well, it does look like we have a few questions that were submitted, which is great. So I'll go in order of when they were submitted to the group. The first one is, what is the Greek life like? So if you're in Greek life, or if you know a little bit about Ripon's Greek life campus, even if you're not in it, kind of what your experience has been with that part of campus.
Anna, do you want to go, or do you want me to do it?
You can go and I'll build off of you.
Okay. So I just did not really do a good introduction here. I'm also part of Alpha Delta Pi sorority, and I'm the president of Black Student Union. I think we're good now. But Greek life is really cool at Ripon. So we have 3 different sororities. So me and Anna are part of Alpha Delta Pi. We also have Kappa Delta, and we have Alpha Chi Omega as well. And then we have 4 different fraternities as well. But speaking on my experience in Greek life, it's been really great. We have a philanthropy through the Ronald McDonald House, and each sorority has their own philanthropy. So we get to go to the Ronald McDonald houses, and we basically just, whatever they need us to do, we do. So we cater, we may clean the kitchen, we may like just, stuff like that. And that's just really fulfilling, like just to see these little kids, go through that stuff, and then just to help them out is really amazing. We also do different types of social events as well, to like get more people interested in Greek life, which is like super fun. Like Alpha Delta Pi loves pancakes, so we do a lot of things like pancakes. And like one of my favorite events is the 80 Pi Bop sand volleyball tournament that we do in the fall. It gets a lot of people interested in just Greek life and stuff like that. So it's really fun and definitely affordable as well.
Awesome. Do you want to share your thoughts as a new member of a Greek organization?
Me? Yes.
Yep.
So I get a lot of questions, even though I am a new member, like I get a lot of questions like why I chose to do Greek life, especially as a junior at the time that I did join. And I wanted to do it since freshman year, but I couldn't like build up the nerve, but I finally did, and it's probably one of the best decisions I've ever made. It's a great way to really build those lasting connections with both current students and alumni. And also it really has like helped me prepare myself more for like the professional world, and like it's really opened my eyes more as to what I want to do outside of the college life.
Okay, so we have a few more questions. Thanks for submitting these. Our second question: does the school being so small ever make you feel like you're missing a true college experience? This is open for anyone to answer.
I'll speak a little bit on that. No, I really don't think so. In fact, well, coming from a high school that was really tiny myself, and going to college was definitely a transition no matter what. I went to a school of about 200 to a college where we have about like 800 students. And really being in a smaller campus kind of makes you kind of like a family. It's so exciting to have all your friends like almost 10 feet like outside your door sometimes. And being in like quarantine and stuff, I really miss that a lot. But I really think that being a smaller campus, we all just kind of become a big family, and a lot of people like look out for you, especially like the upperclassmen too. Freshman year, I noticed such a high amount of all the upperclassmen being like, oh, are you looking for a class? Like, I'll help you out and stuff like that. So it's really great. I don't think I'm missing out on anything in the bigger schools at all. So.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. And I think it's even better to go to a smaller school just because you get that relationship that you might not get at a bigger school, especially with professors or even just students. Like when you go to a bigger school, there's so many students. At Ripon, you pretty much know everybody at Ripon. So I think that's like a good part of it. So I think you could even have a better time at a smaller school because you know so many people. But I guess that's just my opinion.
Great, thank you. All right, our next question. Can you talk about the experience, they're jumping around on me. Can you talk about the experience of competing in a sport at Ripon, please?
Sure, I can talk about it. And then Anna can kind of jump in there. Me and Anna are like, I don't know, we both are in the same mind here. So yeah, I play volleyball, and I think it's kind of the same as high school. So if you play like a high school sport, I mean, it starts around like 4 o'clock, 4:30. So, when all your classes are done, most of your classes do finish around like 2, 3 o'clock anyway. So it never conflicts with class. And so yeah, it's like about 2.5, maybe 2 hours of practice. And, you know, I like it because it is like very much high school. And then they do push a lot of the games towards like the weekend. So you're not missing so much class. But the great thing is that your professors and your coaches, they like know, like if you just tell them like the first day, like, hey, like I'm like, you know, I'm an athlete, I'm a volleyball player. Sometimes I may have to like leave early for like an away game. They're totally fine with that. A lot of times they even come to the games. So they're very much supportive of it. So that's usually never, ever a problem. But yeah, like I think it's kind of similar to high school. The balancing workload, I think, is very much manageable. I don't know. What do you think, Anna?
My high school to college transition was a little different for me because I came from playing 3 sports to just volleyball in college here. And so I was kind of used to already having to manage my time. But I felt it was actually almost harder to manage my time because then I wanted to procrastinate more. But I feel like overall, like the balance of being a student and an athlete kind of helps me be a better student, because then I know the times that I have to study, I know the times that I have practice, so I have to like manage my time even more than I had to have in high school, if that kind of makes sense. But just like Nisha said, our coaches are supportive of our academics and our professors are very supportive of our sports. So there's a really nice connection and balance between the two of them.
Great, thank you. Next question, what sets the Ripon Medical Program apart from any others in the state?
I feel like that's directed towards me.
Nisha, you're on fire tonight.
Yeah. But I really love our pre-med advisory board that we have here at Ripon. So we have like, I think about 8 or 9 faculty members that are all usually that are all in the science department. So they're biology department, chemistry, and physics even. And they keep you on the track of, you know, making sure like you get like, you know, all the classes you need to take your MCAT. So my advisor right now is Professor Clifton, and she's on the pre-med advisory board. So she lays down your whole like undergrad track, like make sure you take these classes, and then she'll even say, if you want to take your MCAT, you're going to be thinking about that. If you want to take that your junior year, you're going to need to have these amount of classes done. And it does seem a little bit overwhelming at first. You're like, whoa, I have a lot to do. But then when she breaks it down like that, I think to me it's way better than what any other college or university can do, because a lot of times they don't have a pre-med advisory board, and so you're kind of like on your own with this. At least that's what I've noticed when other people from different, you know, universities tell me, and I'm like, oh, well, okay, like I've really lucked out on that. And then I think another thing that sets our program different is that if you're a chemistry bio, like so we call it chem bio major, that literally is a pre-designed medical school like track. That's like a pre-med major, what we call it. I'm a biology major because I'm not a fan of chemistry, but you can still have that pre-med track regardless of your major. But chem bio is actually dedicated to like pre-med, and it incorporates all the classes you need so that medical schools will see you as like a competitive student. And I really love that. So I don't know. I think we have one of the best.
Awesome. So I know that Allie, Molly, Anna, you're involved in some other academic programs. Specifically, for those of you who are involved in fine arts in any way, what have you felt your experience with working with faculty has been like?
Yeah, so actually I minor in studio art. It's kind of a funny story. I was not a person who did any art classes in high school, but then when I came to Ripon with the Catalyst program, and I don't know if any of you guys have really talked about that yet, but the Catalyst is in place of our gen eds. With that program, it's only a 5 course curriculum, so you have a lot of time to take classes that maybe you wouldn't have thought about taking coming into college. So I was like, oh, why not? Because with education I needed to find another major or another minor. So I was like, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I was like, oh, maybe I'll take a psychology class, maybe I'll take a history class. And then I decided, oh, I'm going to take an art class because that's something that I haven't really done before. So I thought, oh, maybe it would be fun and I get to meet kind of like a new group of people, if that's what you want to call it as. So I decided I was going to go take a ceramics course, and Professor Odlinger was my professor for that course, and she knew that I had no prior knowledge about art at all, so she was really helpful, and I actually loved it. So that's why I decided to minor in it, because it was something that I was super interested in, something that I've never thought about. I've always thought liked painting and stuff, but just on my own. I never really thought about doing it like as something. So I don't know. I think I absolutely love the professors in the arts department, and also one of the art history professor was one of my Catalyst professors, so I got to see him in something different other than art, so I think that was kind of cool too. And that's a cool thing about the Catalyst curriculum, is that it's taught by professors that are in different areas of expertise, I guess you can call it. So maybe you're getting taught by a biology professor or an education professor, so I think that's a cool way too, to get to meet other people that you might not have met with what you're majoring and minoring in, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Allie, do you want to jump in on this question too?
Sure. So I'll talk a little bit about, I'm involved in like a lot of fine art stuff. So I am a music major, and that was something that I was super worried about going to college for, because they tell you all the time, oh my gosh, music majors, it's crazy, it's stressful. Music theory can be very stressful, especially in high school. My music teacher was like, are you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine. And so the first time, one of the really cool things that Ripon does is gives you advisors, and Anisha talked about them a little bit, and they're just kind of like a professor that'll guide you through, give you that plan on what you need to do, because as I always say on like, to incoming students is, I've never colleged before. I don't know how to do this. And so really these advisors are put in place to guide you on what you need, especially in something like music, where you have to have lesson credits, you have to have ensemble credits, you have to have like the theory credits, and just making sure that everything fits in, especially because I'm a double major and a minor. So my professors are really good at like coordinating with each other, being like, okay, so she wants to take this class, is that okay? Like, does that work, and stuff like that. So it's really great. I've had a great time working with all of the professors in the department, even though they've shifted a little bit, but all of them have adapted really well to the incoming students and as well as the current students, and making sure that we're staying on track to graduate in time. So
Cool. So kind of still along the academic mindset, there's one question that maybe a few of you can speak to. How many people are typically in a major or minor? How many people are in the different academic programs?
I'm not too sure on the exact number of how many people are, let's say, a biology major, chem bio, but all I can really say is, like, depending on whatever major you are, you could be history or anthropology. As you get further and further into your major, your class size is definitely going to get reduced, which I think is really cool. So you may start off with like maybe 40, 50, 60 people in an intro class. And then as you go up to like your 200, 300 level, it gets more condensed to maybe 10 people or like 12 people or 13. But I'm not sure on the exact number though.
Yeah, I will say that once I got farther into my program in education and then also studio art, my class sizes reduced a ton. My class sizes to begin with weren't even that big anyways. It was maybe like 30 people in some of my courses, but then it dropped down to maybe like 9 people. So again, I really enjoy having those small class sizes because you get to have that one-on-one attention with your professor. And I always recommend, with smaller class size, don't skip your classes because the professor will know and he or she will email you.
I know that in like the music field, we only have like 20 music majors, I think, and that is with both music education and music majors. But again, too, like for me, I got into one of the higher level classes, and I had a class of only 4 of us in the class because it just gets a little smaller every single time, and that's fine. It's good great for group discussion, especially in like history major, where a lot of the stuff that we are doing is discussing. You know, we have to figure it out on our own, put the puzzle pieces together kind of thing. So it's really nice for that.
Great. So somebody asked, how hard is it to get into a sorority and how does it affect your educational purposes? Maybe we can talk a little bit just about anything that you'd want to get involved in Ripon, whether it's student athletics, student activities, the different organizations that we have, just in terms of balancing and joining those different organizations. What does that process look like for students, especially an incoming student?
I can answer a little bit of it. So the first question was like for sororities. It's pretty easy to get into a sorority. You have to have like good academic standing. So I think it's like a 3.0 or above. And you know, sororities are always looking for more and more people. So I'm not gonna say it's extremely hard. It's actually very easy. And the time management between being in a sorority and like your classes, very easy because all the sororities are academic-based sororities, meaning like they know you are a student and they know academics come first regardless of anything. So we even have like grade races, which is like, if you get an A, you get a little sticker, and then like it's just fun things that keep everybody excited about like academics. So I'm not gonna say it's like extremely hard. And I think it's very easy to manage. And I can also speak to it with student organizations. I'm involved in DSU, but I'm also involved in other student organizations like Ripon Live and other ones. But my baby is Black Student Union. And depending on whatever student organization you decide to be a part of, it's super easy because everybody there is a student. Everybody knows like, hey, I may have to skip a meeting. Hey, I may not be able to come to everything because, I have work. There are a lot of people that work in college too. And one thing I can definitely say about Ripon College as a whole is that we are very flexible, even like with student workers now, like how we're doing this panel. Maddie and Jill are very flexible with our schedule because they know we are students first and academics come first over anything. And I feel like everybody, no matter what student organization you're in, kind of holds that same principle. You can speak, I guess, a little bit more specifically into it, y'all, if you want.
No, I would say the exact same thing that you said. We're really, academics come first at Ripon, so I think that's a major thing, and professors, faculty, whoever it may be, know that you're here for academics.
Great. Anna, somebody's asking, are tryouts for a sports team hard? What would you say to that?
For like specifically, just like overall sports?
Yeah, just from your experience, your friends' experiences.
So I know for volleyball, we don't have any cuts. Or like that's what you would call it. So like tryouts is more kind of like, how do I explain this? It's like a week-ish of just like conditioning and getting to know the team and team bonding and stuff kind of like that, more than like tryouts. I mean, obviously, yes, we do a lot of volleyball, but also I'm not sure with like football and track and all of those other sports, but what basically we do is we like run the mile. We also run the pacer. We do a lot of running and conditioning, but it's fun. On a scale of 1 to 10, if it would be hard, probably like maybe a 7. I think it's just, it's definitely, it pushes you, but I feel like it's more of a benefit because then you can like see the college level compared to the high school level. And I think it's more fun than anything because it's, especially as a freshman, everything's new faces, new teammates, and it's just, I thought it was a blast my freshman year. So yeah.
Great. So we do have 2 more questions in the chat and we have about a minute left. So I want to make sure we address these last 2 questions that people have submitted. Number 1, is the financial aid office easy to work with and easy to get in contact with?
Yeah.
All right. 4 nods all around. Great. And if you need to get in contact with your financial or with the financial aid office, you can reach out to your admission counselor and they'll get you in contact with them right away. Number 2, is Wisconsin crazy cold? So this must be somebody who's coming from outside the state. How many blankets would I have to bring to Ripon?
I laughed when I saw this question because I'm a big blanket person and my parents always make fun of me for how many blankets that I have. I bring like maybe 10 blankets just because I love blankets, but it can get very cold. I think this was like, not last year, but the year before, we went through like a whole like polar vortex or whatever you want to call it, where it was like negative 50 degrees outside, classes were canceled, we had to stay in our buildings and everything. That was the coldest I've ever seen it, negative 50 degrees, but it doesn't really get that cold. Like this year, it was not that bad at all. I think maybe it went like negative like 2 or 3 times, but it really wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it doesn't get too bad. It doesn't go into the negatives like too often. And being a person who walks down to Rodman like 5 times a day, which is about like a 15-minute walk outside, it's honestly not too bad. Just bring a pair of rain boots for the spring though, because it does get very muddy and puddly all over the place.
Yeah, I will say too, with walking down to Rodman, if you do even have like 8 a.m.s, usually everything's plowed by 8 a.m. so you don't have to worry about walking and trucking through snow. Everything's normally plowed by 8 a.m.
Maybe just one of you could quick comment how close the buildings are, that we're not a huge laid out campus either.
Yeah,
We're not outside. Yeah.
Buildings are like very much close to each other. You can walk the entire Ripon campus in like 15 minutes. Like that's just how small everything is. So from building to building, it's like 1 to 2 minute walk. The furthest walk you'll ever have is if you have so for me, I live in Far Hall. That's like the science building. So going from Far Hall all the way down to Wilmore, that's the longest my walk has ever been. And that's like about a 6-minute walk. Like it's a long walk. No, I'm just kidding. It's only like a 6-7 minute walk. But everything, like I said, is very much close together. So you don't have to worry about, you know, like having like 20-minute allotted time to walk 20 minutes away. Like you don't need all that.
Are you running in 6 minutes? Because that seems really fast.
Yeah, I can barely make it in 50.
Long legs, so I do be taking long strides, but
Okay.
I don't think I'm running.
I'm not making it that quick. Anyway.
Well, thank you so much for everyone that came in and learned a little bit more about Ripon College. Jill did send the link to that virtual tour tonight at 6 p.m. in the chat button, so feel free to sign up for that, and the link to join that tour, possibly with these ladies, will be sent to you.
Yep. One more thing I didn't mention earlier, and most participants are still on, but we're going to do something at the end of all these. So when you sign up for more than one session, your name will be in a drawing for some prizes. So I encourage you to do more sessions. Each one we have in the next few weeks will be a little bit different topic. So please look for that in your emails and sign up. And again, thank you so much for joining us for part 1 and 2. And thank you to our panelists of student workers. Again, 6 o'clock is the tour time tonight, and there's one again on Wednesday evening as well. But stay well, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Cheers, Ripon.
Give a little shout out for Ripon. All right. Hi, Maddie. I'm just staying on for a sec.
Okay.
And John is still here. Hi, John.
Oh.
Okay. And still have 2 attendees on. Anyway, I think that's it for today for right now. And yeah, good deal. I will mark down on that Google Doc. So I think I got it. Okay.
Yeah, say great job, guys. That was a lot of fun.
Good.
Have
All
a
right.
good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.